Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we got an unboxing of some knives that are in for sharpening, but also one that's going to make it into a video I'm doing. So this knife right here is the Cosi Steam Camp Breeze, and we're going to bring this knife back up here in a second, because in this video I'm going to flip-flop a lot. I'm going to be jumping back and forth, so hopefully you guys can follow along. Shout out to Dave for using my sharpening service. He's a part of the knife community, and these are his knives, so thank you to him. Now, also shout out to BGM Knives, because this is the Ferrum Forge Master Blaster with a BGM knife regrind, or BGM Knives regrind. Now, I want to send one of my own knives in to get a regrind done, but since I have his knife here available with a regrind done by BGM Knives, it'll be able to make it into my BGM knife video. So that is awesome. Also, these knives are sent in to get a very aggressive, toothy finish on the edge. And we're going to show that here in a second too. But look at this sharpening choil. I always say BGM Knives actually understands sharpening choils and does some of the best sharpening choils out there. You can see the plunge grind starts here, ends here. You got all this life to sharpen out, and we're going to talk about that more here in just a second. But the Master Blaster, I have reviewed one of these in the past. What an amazing knife. I do like these a lot. And in the video, when I do the regrind video or the BGM knife video, I'm going to talk about the benefits of a regrind, the negatives, the goods, the bads, whether or not I think this was a good idea or not, and so on and so forth. Just a lot of different things about regrinds and also BGM Knives regrinds. But yeah, awesome knife. We'll bring this back up here in a second. Let's get into these. Next, we have the Holt Spectre V4. These things are amazing. I have reviewed one of these. I've reviewed the haptic, and these things are like the pinnacle of a CNC made knife. It's insane how well done, how amazing these knives are. These things are insane, and the action is stupid smooth. I should have brought up the Sharp by Designs Typhoon I have, because this also runs on a detent nub instead of a detent ball, which is also why you never have to play with the detent. As soon as you unlock it, it's already past the detent ball, because there's the detent, not detent ball, because it's the detent nub. Now, if we look at this edge on here, it looks like this was done by a KME or some sort of fixed angled system, and it looks like it was well done. However, it feels like it's been used and loved, which is awesome, but it's slick. It's definitely slick. There's no bite left to it. So the edge we're going to put on it is going to be an edge that's going to keep a lot of bite for a long time. And the one difference between, say, a polished edge that has some bite is that, yeah, they'll have some bite at first, but after you use them for a little bit, they'll start getting slick. Then you got to strop them or hone them, and, you can strop them. But eventually, the teeth, you're going to have to sharpen it, basically. Yes, honing will help bring those teeth back up, but there's only so many times before you're going to need to get a good sharpening. Now, with an aggressive edge, you'll be able to strop it and keep it aggressive for much longer. So let's get this other knife out, and then we'll bring this one back up here in a second too. So this next one, I've never checked one of these out. This is the NCC MK1S. Nice, strong detent to it. I already have opened these up, so very, very strong detent. We have a dual grind Tanto with a hollow right here, flat grind up here, titanium frame lock. Very good build quality. It feels very, very solid. Like I said, strong detent. And this is going to be a knife that's really going to benefit from an aggressive finish, in my opinion. A lot of the work done with a Tanto is right here in this area. It's like when you're slicing, you use that hollow. When you're opening things up, you use this tip. Not saying you don't use this flat area at all, but you kind of get to save this edge a lot, and you mostly tear up this edge. But having some bite right here at the edge really benefits the type of grind this has. And yeah, it's going to be really nice putting an aggressive finish on there. Now let's look at what kind of edge I'm going to put on there. So bringing back up this amazing sounding Breeze by Cosi Steenkamp. Let me wipe it down really quick. Now the one problem is my camera does not like mirrors. So this top part right here is a mirror. It will reflect back. So let's try to do as best as we can. Now you can, oh man, let me put my fingers in the way maybe. Now you can see how aggressive that edge looks, but not only that, look at how flat it looks. There we go. You can see how flat the edge bevel looks. Now one thing is that, well, let's talk about the edge first. Very aggressive edge, and look, if you watch it, if it'll focus. I should move this stuff out of the way. My camera hates this knife. It really does. Just touching this edge though, you see what's happening, just barely touching it. It's extremely aggressive. It'll bite your skin immediately. So this is probably somewhere near the edge finish. This is just under 600 grit. About 550, something like that. But either way, I'm either gonna do something close to this or right around this. Maybe a little less, maybe the same, but it'll be similar to that. Now, the flat edge, we're gonna bring back up these knives, but having an edge get nice and flat, especially when you're talking about freehanding, the heat treat really means a lot in that, because when you're sharpening, if the steel is nice and hard and has a good HRC and is not soft, when you're going across the stone, it's a lot easier to get a flat edge. Now, if it's soft, it's like kind of like pushing Play-Doh or something. Like it's just like it pushes back and forth rather than just chiseling off. So, where's the other one? So, you know, I have no doubt that these knives are not going to take a very, very, very nice edge, but we're going to do the best we can and, you know, do the appropriate edge for them or the appropriate angle. On the Master Blaster, it already has a fresh edge from BGM, and it's an okay edge. It's not hair shaving or anything, you know, it'll cut paper and stuff. It's a good edge. It's not a bad edge at all. So I don't want to make it seem like that, but it's still a factory belt finished edge. It'll never be able to compare to a good quality freehand edge. Now, there are times where a belt edge is going to be better than some freehand edges. It just depends, especially if we're talking about like a bad heat treat or something like that. But it might be just easier to do it on a belt. It just kind of depends. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that the edge I put on here is going to be very, very nice, especially since it's nice and thin behind the edge now. Unlike before, you know, these things didn't have the thinnest geometry, but they are they are more of a harder use knife. So, but this one, yeah, we're going to put a nice aggressive edge on there. I think it'll look beautiful. Now, talking about the choils again, if we pull this guy back up, if you look at this sharpening choil, not the best sharpening choil. You see the plunger end starts here and it ends right about there, right near the edge. Now, I wouldn't recommend adding in your own choil on this one yet. Let me just move these. The camera does not like things being behind what I'm showing. So we do have enough room. Like, it's not like we don't have room to add one if we wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it yet. I do see one decent sharpening on it before it really needs one, but in the future, yeah, I would recommend it. But you know, you're going to cut into this finish. It does have a heavy stone washed, heavy acid etch finish. So, you know, I'd recommend just sharpening it right now and then in the future adding a choil. However, if you're wanting, this is nice and thin, so laying it back shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't make too big of an edge bevel. So if it was thicker behind the edge, I would say add the choil, because when it's thicker behind the edge, just trying to change the angle that's on it will make a bigger edge bevel. In this case, I don't think that will be an issue. Great knife though, very cool. Like I said, I believe this is my first time checking one of these out. I feel like I've checked one out before, but I don't know. Now this one, you can see they actually give you a bit to sharpen out. You can see where the plunge grind ends, and they actually give you not a lot, but they do. It's nice and thin behind the edge, so you know it'll take a couple really decent sharpenings before you'll hit that. And when we look at this now, this is perfect now. You'll never have to worry about adding your own choil in. It's just done so good. Now, if we look at this custom over here, you can see what winds up happening. See the smile? Now, I will say that I'm more forgiving on sharpening choils, or should I say plunge grinds, from custom knives. And the reason why is because, and don't get me wrong, I know this was technically done by hand. So, you know, there are guys that seem to do a really good job at it. But some custom knife makers, that area is very difficult for them, especially depending on the type of grinds they do and everything. But this one in the future, if we look at it, it does have a stop pin down here, but you see where it hits. See this line right there? That's where that stop pin hits. So they did give you room to add a choil in the future. So in the future, I would say leave it now. I do have another knife from Dave Warren, because this is Dave Warren's knife in for sharpening, that I'm going to add a choil onto. But this one, I would say just leave it, and then the next sharpening, then add it, because you're at that point where it's fine right now, but the next one's really gonna hit into here. So as of right now, it's just fine, but in the future, next sharpening, I would say add in a nice choil right there. And yeah, but you can see though the smile and what winds up happening when you have a plunge grind that tapers down to the edge, you know, like this. So figured I would show that. But you know, like I said, this knife's going to make it into the BGM knives video. I do like the Master Blaster a lot. The video is mostly going to be about regrinds, not necessarily the Master Blaster. However, I'm still going to talk about putting a regrind on a knife of this caliper and things like that. So watch out for that video. And I don't know if these guys will make it in another video. Maybe I'll show the edge afterwards. I don't know. We'll see. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.